when you're a traveler and when you're backpacking, you have limited money and space in your bags. So I'm going to tell you 11 things that you really should consider packing. Number one is probably obvious, but it's a power adapter. Now, you can get universal ones from Amazon, which basically adapt to whatever country you're in and whatever electricity system. These take up like no room in your bag. So you can easily pack like 2 or 3 and they just really compact nicely up. Now, thing number 2 is an eye mask and some earplugs. In fact, I have some right here that I use on my travels. Now, these are arguably some of the most essential things you will need to take. Now, the thing is, you need to be able to sleep, right? And you can put these in a separate bag and shove it in the bottom of your backpack so you know exactly where they are. And trust me, if you get a good pair of earphones and a good eye mask, you'll be able to sleep anywhere. Now, the third thing is a padlock. Again, take 2. They're so small and cheap and you might lose one anyway. But what I'd say is, I'd recommend thinking about which one you're going to take, right? Some come with like a key. I'd say avoid those, right? Because realistically, these tiny little keys you might lose. Get one with numbers, and then you just lock it, I guess, with a numerical code. Now, number 4 actually is probably one of the most important bits of kit, and it's a good pair of flip-flops. Or you can take sliders. I mean, look, there's not a massive difference, but the thing is, you need to be taking something that is fairly waterproof and you can slip on and off. Because trust me guys, when you're going to some of the bathrooms in the hostels, you do not want to be treading your bare feet on the floor. Also, as well, like obviously they're useful and they come in handy if you're traveling to any beaches. Regardless of how many shoes you feel comfortable taking, a pair of flip-flops or sliders has to be number 1. Now, number 5 is a pretty good bit of kit. It's a microfiber towel. Now, these things wrap up really, really small and they dry really quickly. A little bit of a downside is they are a little bit rubbish in terms of drying your body. But the thing is, lots of hostels these days are starting to charge for towels. So, you know, if you're spending like 2, 3, 4, 5 pounds every time you're traveling to a new location, this quickly adds up. And as well, we as travelers like things that can be used for multiple purposes. Obviously, this is great for after you have a shower, but as well, you know, you can use it as a blanket. If you're going to the beach or whatever, you can use it as a beach towel. Like, it's adaptable. And the thing is, it's so compact. And speaking of compact, number 6 is a portable charger. Like I say, this is another electronic, but it's definitely something to consider, especially if you're traveling by yourself or on a particularly long trip. In this day and age, you can't really be without your phone, so you need to make sure you've got some way of charging, especially if you know that you're not going to have access to any sort of plug sockets or maybe even power. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Like, carry with you, you don't have to worry about it taking up too much space. Now, 7 is a first aid kit. And this is something that's often overlooked with travelers because it can be a little bit big, a little bit heavy, and maybe even a little bit costly depending on what you're looking at. You just need a little one. Like, we're not talking a big, full, like, duffel bag of medical equipment, but a few plasters, maybe like something to cover a wound, some like sort of antiseptic spray, like the very bare essentials. Obviously, this might change a little bit depending on what your plans are. If you're planning on trekking through a jungle, then you might want to increase the size of the first aid kit. But again, look, personal discrepancy, see what kind of area you'll be traveling to. As an aside, I'd probably say any medications that you might need or you're currently taking, probably put those in a little, like, sort of a separate bag and in a place that you can keep safe, because you might not necessarily want that in your first aid kit if you need your medication to hand like regularly. Now, number 8 is something that potentially not everybody would find relevant, but it's reusable cutlery and some sort of Tupperware or a plate. This probably depends on the location you're traveling to. I'll be honest, when I was in Asia, the food was so cheap and it was so inexpensive that I didn't really do that much cooking. Whereas I know that if you're backpacking and traveling around Europe, the food prices tend to be really quite expensive if you want to eat out. So you're going to be doing a lot more cooking in the communal kitchens there, and that's probably the area where this reusable Tupperware and cutlery will come in handy the most. But yeah, this is one that's just nice to have. It's not crucial, but just use your discrepancy. If you think that's something that you will find useful, then add it to your list. Now, number 9 is something you really need to consider, and it is a day pack or a tote bag. And these are massively useful because obviously you're going to have a pretty big bag that's carrying the bulk of your equipment and your clothes in. But as well, you need something that is a little bit portable, especially if you're exploring a city or a town just for like a day or two. Now, I know that companies like Osprey do these kind of dual bags, like a really big 40, 50 litre bag that comes with a much smaller 15 litre day pack attached. And that's actually something similar to what I've got. But you just need any sort of bag that is it's quite a bit smaller than your main bag, but you can just use it for kind of an everyday carry to just put in your essentials and anything you might pick up along the way. Number 10 is also a little bit related to packing and bags, and it is packing cubes. Now, these definitely divide people, but what I'll say is that in my experience, they have been pretty much a lifesaver. Now, you have some different types of travelers. You have those really chaotic people that just seem to throw everything in their bag at the last minute and everything's fine. But you have me who's a little bit more careful, I guess, in a way, and I like to plan things and organize things a little bit better. And packing cubes are great because they're really cheap and you can compact down everything, and you can even put them in a backpack. What I like to do as well is separate the different types of clothes and put them in a different cube. So I'll put my t-shirts in one, shorts in another, you get the idea. And this basically means that for all intents and purposes, you almost have a wardrobe traveling with you. You don't have to worry about picking out particular things at a time because you know where everything is. So it's just a really nice way to organize and systemize your clothes. Number 11 is a bit of a rogue one to finish, but I wanted to put it in anyway. When it's a travel journal, it's really nice to have a physical way to store your memories, you know, beyond just using your phone and taking photos for Instagram. But I think it's one of those nice things that you can have and you can look back on in 5, 10, 15, 20 years and, you know, recall all of those lovely memories that you have. As well, you know, if you don't have power or Wi-Fi or whatever, it's a great way to pass the time. So yeah, let me know what things that I might not have included, but you think you can't live without, especially if you're staying in a hostel. And on that note, if it's your first time staying in a hostel, check out this video where I talk to you about everything you need to know if it's, like I say, your first time staying in a hostel. So you have no reason to have any worries. And I'll see you all there.